topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Morning day, 2 days after the 4th of July. I can't believe how fast this year is going. Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show. I've been doing this show for 17 years, and my whole purpose for this show was to educate people out there. Not like a commercial, like these commercials you see on TV. I really wanted to get the best experts in the U.S. and educate you and not cost you a dime. And I got to tell you, we just went with TikTok about 2 months ago, but it's not just TikTok. I looked at the numbers for this last show. We do 3 shows a month with attorney Lance Drury. We talk about tax relief. And I got his numbers from YouTube, and it just blew me away. We had over 5,000 people watching the show. We're on 70 platforms, but that is the highest we've ever gotten. And just so you know, most shows out there get about 200 to 400 views. His shows have been averaging 900 to 1,200, but I got to tell you, it makes me feel so good that we have a show that's reaching so many people. Let me introduce you to my friend, attorney Lance Drury. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning, Steve. It's great to be here. And the numbers, when you sent that to me Friday, I'm getting a little hoarse here, but I just couldn't believe it. I'm so happy that so many people are tuning in and that we can provide such vital information to everybody on how to deal with the IRS. So, yeah, I'm glad you found me, Steve. I'm really happy to be here.
Your godsend. You know what it is, Lance? People really like the way you explain things. And I want to open up the show with I'm not going to read the whole letter. It was a long email. But it was basically saying a gentleman went with one of these firms that they had a celebrity doing their commercials. And he went with them and he paid a lot of money. And he said, basically, I got ripped off. I can't do anything about it except walk away as a loss. And he said, I've been listening. I found your show 3 months ago, and I really like the way Mr. Drury explains things. Can you tell me, first of all, the difference in his firm and maybe the kind of companies that I went with? Because I really want to have to do this, and I feel Lance can really help me, but I'm so afraid now after getting his words screwed so bad.
Well, that's not uncommon. I tell people there's 3 rules. If you don't hire us, hire an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but, all they do is dabble in IRS stuff. 90% of what they do is tax preparation. Number 2, go local. And number 3, don't hire one of the big boys. The industry gets a bad name because there's a bunch of national firms. They employ salespeople to do the initial consultations. And I've been approached to do that several times with Facebook ads. And I've resisted all that because I want people talking to an attorney. And sometimes those salespeople tell people things that aren't possible just to get those people in the door. But here we stress service. We actually go the extra mile. We spend more time compiling and analyzing financial information than anything else we do. And we have to do that, Steve, because we've got to get the numbers right, because our clients are submitting those numbers under penalties of perjury to the IRS. And secondly, guess what? You give us bad numbers, we're going to give you bad advice. So we have to spend a lot of time. The taxpayers have to spend a lot of time. We got to go through bank statements, credit card statements, debit card statements, because we have to prove up certain categories of household expenses to the satisfaction of the IRS. They're not going to take my word for it or the client's word. They want to see documentation. So that's what we do here, Steve. That's what makes our firm different. We go the extra mile. As the president of the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers once said, if you're not spending at least 9 months on your client's case, you're not getting your client the best possible deal.
Lance, you hear this every day. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to have the IRS after me. It has got to be the biggest gorilla on someone's back. What you do is you get rid of that gorilla. And, if you've never gone through a problem with the IRS, it has got to weigh on you 24/7.
Oh, my God. I mean, I can remember, and this has been several years ago now, this woman came to me and she was just literally shaking. And she basically threw unopened mail from the IRS at me. She was so scared to open it. And she wouldn't even touch it. And we got her set up. We got her an agreement. But yeah, if you try to do this on your own, they're just going to eat you up and spit you out. They're probably the most terrifying agency in the federal arsenal. You do not want to do this on your own. I've seen so many people just royally screw this up because of what they said to the IRS. And the IRS takes advantage of lay people, Steve. And the reason I know this is people think they can do it on their own. They call the IRS, they get an agreement. It's for every last dollar. And then they call me. And the first words out of their mouth are, I can't afford the monthly payment. And I go, then why did you agree to do this?
Right.
And they go, because this is what the IRS told me I had to pay. And that's not true. But they know that the lay people do not know how the game is played. It's all based on your ability to pay it back. 85 to 90% of our clients never pay back the full amount. 10 to 15% never pay a dime, but it's a lot of work for us and the taxpayer. But that's what you got to do if you want to get an agreement from Uncle Sam.
Well, what makes this show so easy for me is all the listeners and viewers' questions. We get so many, especially a couple days before when we're promoting your show. But let's start off with Mike in Sioux Falls, of all places. As a business owner, I really enjoy your show. Is it hard to qualify for a hardship relief?
Well, like I said, maybe 10 to 15% of our clients never pay a dime because they qualify. What you have to show is that you don't have the ability to pay any of the debt back. And what basically that means is that your business income is no greater than your business expenses. If there's money left over at the end of the month, Uncle Sam wants it. So that's what you have to prove. But the problem with a business is if it's not making money, it's probably not viable. Everybody thinks owning your own business is the American dream, but a lot of those small businesses go out of, they just belly up and they can't pay the bills after a few years. And so, it's not the American dream. It's a lot of work. You don't make as much money. You got to fund your own retirement. You got to fund your own health care. So it depends on your financial situation, whether or not you're going to qualify for a financial hardship. And that's commonly called currently non-collectible status. Now, Steve, the thing is, the IRS down the road can bring you out of that uncollectible status if they see the business or the individual is making more money later on. So it doesn't last forever, although most of our clients, once they're placed in there, they never come out. But the IRS does have the option of bringing you back out to see if now you can pay some of this. But the good news is, Steve, the IRS does not have forever to collect the tax. There's a statute of limitations on collection. It's generally 10 years from the date the tax is assessed, but there's so many things that can stop the running of the statute on collections that for each tax liability period, we have to calculate what's the last day the IRS has to collect.
Hank in Sugarland, Texas, that's close to your new offices in Houston. Thank you for your show. Can your firm help get rid of IRS penalties? And if so, how does that work?
Well, there's primarily two ways you can get penalties. You can do what's called first-time penalty abatement, which means if you've been compliant for the prior years prior to the year for which you're seeking penalty abatement, you can get that. But that's one time only, and that's relegated to 1 year. Or you can do it for reasonable cause, and, that's tough to do. I would say that only about 20 to 30% of our clientele qualify for that. One of the major reasons why people could qualify for that is medical conditions, hospitalizations, problems in the family with disabilities. Your child is in the hospital for a while. But other than that, it's pretty hard to get penalty abatement for that. And you cannot get interest kicked, Steve. That's statutory. They figure you didn't pay your IRS tax bill. We're giving you a loan. And so they're just like your bank. They're going to tack on interest. And you can't get rid of the interest. But you can, in certain cases, get rid of the penalties. But it's not the easiest thing in the world to get done.
Here's Renee in Los Angeles. They're up early this morning. I have owned back taxes, but I haven't received a letter from the IRS yet. Should I contact your office now or wait until I get a letter from the IRS?
No, you're always better off contacting somebody right away. Don't wait for those nasty letters to start. And here's the other problem, Renee, is that now in 25, the IRS collected twice as much money from delinquent taxpayers as they did in 24 because now they're deploying artificial intelligence and the time frame is collapsing between those nasty letters they're sending out, which means they're starting to levy people quicker. So you want to get a jump on this so you're ahead of the game before those nasty letters start. So, yeah, it's always better to be proactive and reach out, but do not try to reach out to the IRS yourself. All that does is put you on their radar. They'll give you unreasonable deadlines, make unreasonable demands. So please do not call the IRS yourself. You're just making yourself a target.
Here's a new question. This is actually from the San Antonio area. They want to know, I am being inundated by robo tax relief companies. Does that mean I have a tax problem that I don't know about?
My answer to that would be yes, because here's probably why you're getting the letters. There's probably a federal tax lien that has been filed against you. Those federal tax liens are a matter of public record. They are generally filed in the Recorder of Deeds office in the county in which you live. And what happens is there's people for a living who compile lists of people with federal tax liens and sell those lists to practitioners like myself. So that's probably why you're getting those letters, is they know that you have a federal tax lien. And so they're reaching out to you because they know that you got a tax problem. Now, years ago, we used to do that, but we don't do that anymore, Steve. But those lists still exist, and there's still a lot of people and a lot of tax companies that will reach out to taxpayers because they know they have a federal tax lien against them.
Cecil in Little Havana wants to know, is the Fresh Start program for real? And if so, how does it work?
Well, I got to tell you, Steve, a lot of people ask me this. They say, can you get me into this Fresh Start program? Well, it's just a term of art. It's not really a program. You still have to prove to the satisfaction of the IRS that you don't have the ability to pay this back. Now, when they started this Fresh Start program more than 10 years ago, they did make it a little easier to get an offer in compromise done. They raised the level before a federal tax lien would be filed against you. But most everything else, it's still the same. You still got to put in the work. I can't just call them up and say, hey, this guy's a good guy, give him a fresh start. It doesn't work that day. You have to prove. It's a lot of work for the taxpayer. It's a lot of work for us. So be leery. I mean, here's another scam that's going on, Steve, is there will be companies, they're scam artists. They'll send out a notice. It looks like it's an official notice from the IRS. But guess what? It doesn't have a physical address on it, and it will give you like an 888 number to call. Well, and it says at the bottom, we can settle your debt for 10 cents on the dollar. So they know what your debt is because they've seen the federal tax liens. And so whatever that number is, if you owe $100,000, they'll say, we can settle for $10,000. Well, that's a lie. I mean, I've even had a guy in my small hometown. He got a phone call. The people said they were from the IRS. If you don't send us $3,000 or $4,000 today, we're going to come out and arrest you. So he did it. The next day, he gets another phone call, and then he comes, sees me. I said, give me the number. So I called him up. I identified myself as an attorney, and they hung up.
Yeah.
I told him it's a scam. There's a lot of scam artists out there. So you got to watch it. You got to be careful. You got to go with somebody who's reputable. You can look us up. You can see our Google reviews. You can go to my website, see the speeches I've done across the country, the award I won from the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers 10 years ago. You know, you got to get somebody reputable. You got to watch who you hire. And so that's why I do this, Steve. I'm 72. I don't have to do this anymore. You know, I could retire, go lay on the beach all the time, but I don't want to do that. I want to help people out. That's what we're here for. That's what gets me out of bed early every morning.
It's funny because you have offices in St. Genevieve, you got Nashville, you got San Antonio, you got Houston, and I think what's soon to be Miami, right?
Well, I'm hoping one of these days, but we also have an office in St. Louis, Steve. I'll be there on Thursday, seeing prospective clients there. So, yeah, we've got a bunch of offices, and I just hope we can keep growing the business. We have almost 1,000 clients that we service at any one time. Just imagine that. If you had told me 15 years ago that it was going to grow to that extent, I would never have believed it. It's just, I am so grateful that God has given me the ability to help so many people out, to give people back their lives, to give them back their financial freedom, to give them back their peace of mind. I'm just so grateful to be able to do that. And we're going to keep on going and keep doing that, Steve.
And I got to tell people this. I'm sure you don't promote it a lot, but it seems like you're always meeting people on Saturday. So people do have access to you.
Absolutely. And a lot of times I go to St. Louis on Saturdays because people work during the weeks, or the wife is a school teacher. She can't get off. And I want to see both the husband and the wife at the same time. And so I'm 50 minutes away from my St. Louis office. I go up there. And the other reason I go up all the time, Steve, is I rent like a Regis. And if you're not familiar with that, I rent a room. They have a common reception area. Well, they used to have two receptionists. And now, because nobody wants to work anymore, they're down to one. She's got to cover more than one office. So they're not doing all the work that they did for us before. So I have to go up every week because people are dropping off documents that are time sensitive, that have a deadline. And so I go up every Saturday, and I might as well see 2 or 3 or 4 people while I'm up there on a Saturday. So that's what we do. We have to make ourselves available to our clients whenever we can. I even talk to people on Sunday mornings from time to time, Steve.
You're like one of the hardest working attorneys I've ever seen. Hey, Peter in Tampa wants to know, what is the difference between a levy and a lien?
Well, the difference between a levy and a lien is this. A levy is an actual seizure of assets or property. The IRS is taking something from you. That most commonly is they're wiping out your bank account, taking 90% of your take-home pay, taking 15% of your Social Security, but if you drop it into the bank account, which it will be, they can take it all. A lien is not an actual seizure. It's filed in the Recorder of Deeds office in which you live, so that if you sell your real estate, that lien has to be satisfied at the time of sale. Now, those liens don't last forever because the IRS cannot collect against you forever. So in the old days, Steve, the IRS would generally release those liens 6 to 9 months before the collection statute expired, but they're so bad now. The IRS is so bad in this day and age that they don't do that anymore, and people have to hire me to get the lien release. It's supposed to be a self-releasing lien. Because the problem is these title companies are so scared of the IRS, they don't care if it's a self-releasing lien. They want a piece of paper from the IRS saying that the lien has been released. So it's a shame that people have to hire me for that, but that's because of the title companies, and it's because the IRS now is shorthanded, and they're not doing near the work that they used to. The only thing as bad as the IRS, Steve, is the Postal Service.
Well, I got to tell you, this show goes by so fast. We've got a couple minutes. What is your website? Because there's a lot of people who aren't viewing that are just listening on radio or iHeart. How do they reach your website?
They need to go to lancedrurylaw.com. And there's a lot of great information on there. You can see all the testimonials the firm has. There's speeches on there I've given across the country. So it's really something else. You need to go there and just get yourself educated on how to deal with the IRS. And there's a lot of good stuff on there for you to choose from and to read.
Lance, I got to tell you, I cannot thank you enough. You bring so much great information to the show. I'm looking at TikTok. You have 1,014 likes. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, let's just keep it going, Steve.
I love you, bro. Have a good week. Hey, we'll see you in a couple weeks. You've got
okay. That sounds great.
You got 2 more shows this month, so we'll have plenty of questions for you.
Okay, Steve. Sounds great.
That's Lance Drury, attorney Lance Drury. That's going to do it for us today. Join us again tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern time with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.